Hey guys, welcome to another Adobe InDesign interactive tutorial. Follow along in this lesson and learn how to create a simple interactive image slider or carousel for a fictional product catalog. The interactive slider will contain the main image for 3 separate slides, corresponding details, and a button that will be used to navigate to other pages within the same document. So let's jump right into this lesson and get started. Let's go ahead and start creating our interactive slider. On my screen here, I have a layout for a fictional company called Birchmount, and we're going to be creating a product catalog slider. And the idea here is to fill the entire space with some stunning images that also have negative space where we'll add some other content, such as a description of what the image is, as well as a button which will navigate to other sections in this digital publishing project. Now, I'm working in the CC libraries, but you'll find all the assets for this tutorial located at the bottom of this document, which I'll share with you. So in my CC libraries, I have the images that I want to place on the page, which will turn into a slider in just a moment. So I'm going to click on the first one, hold my Command or Control key if you're on Windows, and click the other two. And I'll just drag and drop each one into the layout individually. This way I know that they're all the same size. So I'll select all 3 and use my alignment tools. Make sure that you are aligned to the selection, align the vertical, horizontal centers. And then I'm just going to drag all 3 and place them right into the center point of the layout. Now, it's important to open your layers panel to ensure that they're in the order that I want. So I'm just going to tear the layers panel off here, and you can see in the layers panel, I have these named Fashion JPEG, Plants JPEG, Plants Main JPEG, and Home Decor JPEG. And that is exactly the order we want them. So if I could turn them off to show you. So there's Fashion, Plants, and then Home Decor is the last one. Perfect. Now that I have those set, what I'm going to do is select all of them and open the Object States panel to turn them into a multi-state object. So I've gone over this before. The object states can be located under Window, Interactive, and then Object States. And for this lesson, you're also going to need buttons and forms and animation. So go ahead and open all 3 of those while you're there. So I'm going to open Object States. And again, I'm just going to group all these tabs together, just the panels I need. This way I can work from the same window instead of going back and forth from the panel. So I'm just going to select all 3, go to my object states, and simply convert that selection into a multi-state object. And you can see now I have state 1, state 2, state 3. I'm going to go ahead and also rename the object name to main product. Let's just say main images. Okay, easy to remember. And you can see that they're all there. Next, I'm going to bring in the description, so the headline to go with the image, as well as a short description and a button for each grouping. Now I've gone ahead and grouped these together for you, and you'll find them again at the bottom of the document. You're more than welcome to start from the beginning and format and typeset the way you want. But I thought it would make it a little bit easier for you with everything already grouped and ready to go for you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on all 3 here. So make a fashion statement. I'm going to hold my Command key and click the other 2 and drag those onto the layout. And I just drop them into the pasteboard area. Okay. Again, it's easier if you just drop them in rather than drag, because obviously you don't want them to be different sizes either. Just like we did with the images, I'm going to select all 3. They're still grouped. I'm going to align the centers. Actually, for this, we don't want to align the vertical or horizontal centers. We want to align the left edges. So let's go ahead and do that. I put in a couple guides here already. I'm just going to move this here. Now, the images I'm working with for this tutorial all have negative space. So If you're working on something like this, a digital publishing project where you're going to be adding a headline over an image, either make sure that you have some nice negative space to place it on, or not a busy background where the type might get lost in that background. Okay, I'm just going to add another guide to the left just so I know that these are all snapped together. I'm also going to make this window a little bit smaller and move it over here. Great, so now again, if I go to my layers panel, I went ahead and renamed these as well. This is called fashion headline, home gardening headline. Actually, let's rename that. Let's call this plants headline. Okay, and then home decor headline. And again, you could see that they're all grouped together. Now it's important that each group has its own button because we're going to be converting those buttons to jump to different sections in this document. In this document, I have three other pages, and they're all going to be triggered from these buttons. So again, much like we did with the images, I'm going to click the other three, select them. I've gone ahead and just highlighted them in my layers panel. Go to object states and convert that selection to a multi-state object. And you can see there's fashion to go with this image, plants to go with this image, and then the home decor trendy with a lot of comfort goes with this last image here. So I'm just going to click back on state 1 for main images. I'm going to click back on the headline and go back to fashion headline. So essentially each fashion headline, each headline that I've converted into a multi-state object aligns with each image. But of course, it's important to go ahead and rename the headlines as well. So let's call this product headlines, okay? Perfect. So product headlines, as well as, actually, let's call this section headlines. And for this, we named it main images. So there, we've already set both multi-state objects. We're going to add the next and previous buttons to the interactive slide now. If I go to my CC libraries here, you could say I have a left arrow icon and a right arrow icon, which you can also find at the bottom of this document, or you can just save onto your desktop from the asset folder that I'm going to share with you as well. So what I'm going to do is just drag the left one onto the pasteboard and do the same with the right. And I'm just going to select both of them. And let's make the tint of them to 20% on black. And I also want to change the opacity to about 50%. We can always alter that. I'm going to drag the right one so it snaps to the center point of the page right there. And let's do the same. Bring the left arrow all the way to the left-hand side and snap it until you see that magenta line. Now, I don't want these to be right on the edge of the page, only because when we publish this online, or if we export it for EPUB fixed layout, those arrows might interact or interfere with the arrows that you'll see within those platforms that will allow users to transition from each page in a document, whereas these are going to transition the slides in this interactive slider. So I want to bring them in essentially. Let's click on the first one on the left, hold your shift key and press your right arrow key 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's do the same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Same thing, I only press the left arrow key to nudge it over. Great, now that those are in position, I can convert them to buttons so they trigger the slides within the interactive slider. I'm going to click on the right one first, and for this you're going to need buttons and forms. Again, I'm just going to tear this entire window out. I have this selected. I'm going to click on the type and we're going to change that to a button. This will be called right arrow next button. Maybe just next button is fine. And the event is on release or tap. The action here is go to next state. And the object name here is main images. However, you're going to add a secondary go to next state. And we're going to change the object from main images to section headlines. This way, when we transition through those buttons or we click the button, it will not only trigger the main image, but it will also trigger the section headlines. So let's go to the one on the left and do the same thing. Click on the type, and this will be button. And let's call this previous button. The action here is go to previous state. And the action, again, let's add a secondary action of go to previous state. So the first one, again, leave on main images. But the second action of go to previous state, we're going to change the object to section headlines. Let's test out the work by clicking the EPUB preview window. That'll bring up the preview of what we've done so far. It's a good way of testing your work to see if all the functionality is working. So let's click on the right arrow, and you can see that those trigger each slide. Let's click on the previous window, and you can see it returns, it goes back. Great. I want to add an animation to a fade-in animation to the slide, just to the image. So to do that, go to Object States again, click on the main images object, and then select State 1. But before you add an animation, you have to double click into that first image to drive into it. So now I'm driven into State 1, which is the image of the clothes here. Now I can click on Animation, and under the preset, let's choose Appear. The event will be on State Load. Let's change the duration to 0.5. And down below where it says Opacity, let's choose Fade In. Great, let's do the second one now. So click State 2, double click to drive into that state selection. Go to Animation, click on the preset, choose Appear, have the duration set to 0.5 seconds, and the opacity, have it set to Fade In. Let's do the last one. Click on State 3, double click on the image to drive into that selection, choose Animation, go to Preset, we want Appear with a 0.5 second duration and an opacity of Fade In. Let's go ahead and click the EPUB preview window. Now it's very subtle, but when I click through these, you can see there's a nice fade in transition with an appear preset only to the images. You could set it to the text and the button as well, but I don't think that's necessary. But again, it's personal preference. So I like the smooth transition of this, but leaving the text and the button come in with a hard transition. So next, I'm going to show you how to convert these buttons to other pages within the same document. As I mentioned early in the lesson, I do have some other pages within this document. One that corresponds with the fashion section, another that corresponds with plants, and the last one is home decor. So I want to trigger the View More Collection or View Collection buttons here to each one of these pages. Not only that, I also want to create a button on these pages that take me back to the home page instead of scrolling through and going that route. So first, let's go back to Object States and make sure that we're on State 1 here. And let's do the same for the section headlines. So basically we want to be on the fashion section right now. Let's zoom into this View Collection button that I've created here. Double click to drive into that button. And in the Buttons and Forms panel, let's go ahead and create that into a button. And let's call this Fashion Section Button. Okay. And the event is on Release or Tap. The action is Go to Page. Okay. And we want this to go to page 2. I also want to add a rollover appearance to this view collection button. To do that, click on rollover and then double click to drive into the rollover appearance state there. And let's just change the tint of that blue from 100 to 70%. This way when a user or a viewer will roll over this, they'll go from the normal to rollover appearance, okay? Let's move on to the second one. Go back to Objects States and click on Plants Headline. Double click on the View Collection text frame. It's not a button yet. We have to convert it into one. The type is a button. This is Plants Section Headline. And the action is Go to Page. And the page here is page 3. Right now, we don't have a rollover appearance. Let's go ahead and set one. Click on click on rollover, double click to drive into the button selection, and under swatches, turn the tint from 100% to 70. This way you have a normal appearance and a rollover appearance. We have one more to go here, so let's click back on Object States, click on Home Decor, double click on View Collection text frame, go back to Buttons and Forms, convert that to a button, and this will be Home Decor Section Button. And the action here, again, is Go to Page. And this will go to the last page, page 4. Let's add a rollover appearance. Click on rollover, double click to drive into that text frame. And you guessed it, we're gonna change the tint to 70%. And now we have a normal and rollover appearance going from 100% tint to the same color at 70% tint. So now what I can do is test this out. Actually, I'm sorry, you cannot. So if you want to test this out, you're going to have to publish it online or export a version of it in an EPUB fixed layout. Only because in the EPUB preview window, you can't test out navigation from one page to another. So we'll finish everything here. And then what I'll do is publish it online and we'll test it there. Now, right now I have this set up where a user can click View Collection, go to that specific page, but unfortunately they would have to scroll back up to get back to the home page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the logo here, Birchmount, and I'm going to Command C to copy. Let's go to the second page, Shift Option Command V, that's paste in place. You could also go to Edit, Paste in Place. And let's go ahead. Actually, before we do that, we'll only paste it one time, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. So let's just say I clicked on the collection to go to the fashion section. Now I want to go back to the home page. I'm going to click this Birchmount logo, and in the buttons and forms, let's choose button, and let's call this home button 1. Okay, home button 1. And the action here will be go to page again. And it'll say, we'll just have it set to go back to page 1, okay? I'm gonna copy that same button here, go to page 2, Shift Option Command V, and you could see in the buttons and forms panel, it automatically names to home button -2 of a go to, and it has the go to page action with the same page set up. So if you want, instead of recreating that button with the button settings, just paste it in place by going Shift Option Command V. If you're on Windows, that would be Shift Control Alt V, or you could just do Edit, Paste in Place. And you could see the naming convention for that last button is home button -3, go to page, and it returns to page 1. So what we'll do as a last step here to test out not only the interactive slider, we'll also test out the basic navigation we set up, just showing you how to take users from the home page to the different sections and then back to the home page for easy navigation. So let's do that next. As a last step, let's go ahead and publish this project online. To do that, click on the share button in the upper right-hand corner and choose Publish Online. That will bring up your Publish Your Document Online window, where you can rename the title, add a description, export all pages or a range of pages, single page or spreads, so on. You would click Publish. Now I've already published it, so I'm just going to open it in my web browser here. I'm going to set it to full screen, and let's test out the buttons first. So you could see the right arrow button for next in the slider works just fine. And the left, taking users back in the slider, works fine as well. Let's click on View Collection for the fashion. It takes me to the fashion section. Remember, we set a Go Back to page button here. Birchmount takes me back to the home page. Let's go to Spruce Up Your Living Space. Click on View Collection. That will take you to the plants section. We select Birchmount to take us back home. And then this last one for the home decor takes us to the home decor section. And then of course we can click on the logo as a final step, taking viewers back to the home page. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to create a simple interactive image slider and set up page navigation using Adobe InDesign. Hit the like button if you found this tutorial helpful, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest tutorial content published every other week. Until then, take care and keep creating.